Woo! Welcome back, Shitbox Junkies, to another episode of the Art of Shitboxes and the Art of Shitbox MX5s and K24 swaps. Where are we at on this thing? Great news. We're right here. At the moment, I've got the motor propped up with the jack. I have about 1.5 to 2 inches of clearance from the stock oil pan to the subframe. I have a lot of hood space, but like a decent amount. Let's take a look at that. Under hood clearance, pretty decent. Got a good amount still, got a decent amount left for the ITVs, but its manifold will now be 15 degrees inlet and quite a bit longer for higher velocity since I have the room. I had originally built this out thinking I wasn't gonna have any room, so I made these pretty short and then was just gonna rely on the stacks themselves, to create actual velocity and length of intake pipe. But we're good. At the moment, we just start planning these motor mounts out, and by the looks of it, my steering rack adapters, I think they worked out pretty well. I'm actually about to fit up the rack again. Let's see if it clears with it being a decent amount. You can probably see the gap. That's a good amount of gap. Might bring these out a little, but I think we'll be good. Let's see how this goes. I've gone ahead and thrown the RX-8 steering rack onto my steering rack adapters, and great news, it works and fits. We've got clearance from the crank to the rack, and it looks like the IS-250 part that I'm supposed to use right here, I think it's gonna work out. I guess now I start making templates, the actual motor mounts and stuff like that. Okay, well, according to that stud, it's probably the flattest part. I'm at 12.8, but the pen is definitely leaning more towards the right now, so it's not sitting flat with the spacing I got over here, which is fine. But by tilting it to the right a bit more, it does give me a decent amount, a little bit more clearance to hopefully run headers and stuff. I don't think I need to tilt it much more than this, but I may attempt. I think if I tilt it any more, I'll have clearance issues on the right for the manifold and ITV stacks, but I could be wrong. I mean, there's a good amount of room one way or the other over here. I'm gonna go ahead and keep on rolling, start getting parts on here. Actually, I'm gonna start sketching some templates, I think, here. Go get some cardboard, see how we line up. Should be exciting. Well, what do we got here? It's good old-fashioned engineering. I'm using cardboard as templates to set up and see where I want these motor mounts. Do some of this, do some of that, make this piece out of metal over here, and have it come down as well, clear everything. I've gone ahead and reprinted the stacks. They are now 7.5 inches long, or from base to throttle body. So it follows more or less the Kinsler style. And it's at 15 degrees. Now we're gonna start having hood clearance issues with the actual trumpets, which isn't a problem. I'm pretty sure shorter ones would fit in here just fine. And I could also just print them in a way that they have a very slight bend for under the hood. That's not gonna be an issue. On the docket right now. I'm gonna try and get this and this and this all together on the steering column, after which I will then install the water pump plate and the alternator on this side to see what kind of clearance I have, so I can figure out if I'm gonna be mounting the water pump and the dry sump pump on the side of the motor or not. Let's get to work. Let's do a quick update as I was messing around with stuff and checking clearances. Back at the firewall, I have had to beat this up a little on this side and that side to clear the valve cover. I've got a piece of cardboard in there, spacing it, tilting it more to the right. Gives me roughly 13.3 degrees, I think. I might shoot for, at 13.3 I have the best of both worlds. So around 13 degrees is what I'll go for here. So we'll go from there. And right now the crank is pretty lined up, but I'm gonna do some laser measurements here in a minute once I've got everything squared away. So let's see what happens. enough. I would say I've run into my first actual roadblock here. The IS-250 extension that you use with the ARC-8 when doing this. It's long. It's a bit too long. Honestly, the length that you need is so minimal, it's kind of shitty. So my two choices right now are shorten up steering column here, just take it all together. That might be the way to go for me. It doesn't seem too bad. But that's where we're at with the steering. Well, lucky me, turns out I have a random piece of pipe in my scrap bin that is very, very, very close to the diameter of the steering rack. So I'm just gonna cut and weld up here and see if I can just, it won't be the prettiest at the time, but it'll do something until I can get one milled out properly. It's good enough for now. Ugh. This is a waste of $25, but hey, that's how projects go. Sometimes you waste some money to make some shit work. Proceed, tell yourself. Alright, there we go. That's good. It's clearance. That's what I need. So, we're gonna go ahead, do a little wire brushing. Clean that boy up. Probably be smart and put on some leather gloves for this one. All right, it's clean. Let's chop up the column. So, I've never used one of these cut wheels before. 5,000 cuts, eh? Okay. Forgive me, Mazda. We gotta slice you up a bit. I'm a fan. It's gonna need to get cleaned up, but these seem to work. We'll do a little bit of cleaning. How exciting. Okay, so you have many pieces. I take this and slide on over here. Oh, okay. It's very slidey good. It's little loose, but you know, it's loosey goosey. What did I do with the other end of that shaft? Fuck. Most, oh, there it is. I think it's like right around here is what. So. Definitely need to have one made properly, but you know, to fit the actual diameter of said rods. For now, it'll have to do. I have no choice. For some, gotta ground this bit. Really ramp that up. We're just gonna pretend like this is gonna be totally fine. For the time being, that'll do. I am so heavily towed out. Oops. Whatever. Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be peachy. All right, so the biggest issue I've had so far is actually finding a place for the dry sump pump. And I've been going back and forth on it, you know, trying to get it on the passenger side, but then I didn't want the headers interfering with it. It also has very little room to get into the oil inlet on the engine side where the oil filter would go. So I figured maybe I could mount it above the alternator. And I was able to move the Track Tough Turbo bracket down to a set of holes right below the water pump housing. Now they aren't aligned perfectly, and I will have to create another bracket to get it to align properly with the pulley of the crank. But mounting it down here does give me enough room to clear the dry sump and all of the 12A fittings underneath it and a couple of the ones on top. So I figured this might be the way I'll go about it. But I guess we'll see. Pretty light. bring it down an inch and it'll be good. Switch out to banjo fittings on the top and we'd be golden. This was a quick little experiment to see if I could mount the alternator high up top. This did not work well. Yeah, I had hopes, but no. We're going with it. So how do we look here? Exact length I need. There's a bit of this. I'll tell you what, it's ta-da! The fourth, maybe. We have motor mounts. Do they look great? Not yet. Do they work? Barely. What do we got going on here? My idea to clearance, you know, some area for the headers here and step down this motor mount and stuff. Don't hate it, don't love it. Got some stuff to do. Probably a bit more cutting. I need a support brace in there, obviously, because it flexed quite bad when I let the jack off. It's not really doing anything. This one's okay, but I think both of these are gonna get slightly remade. At least the piece here is fine, but I think I'm gonna unbolt these RX-8 motor mounts, tighten them to this motor mount that I'm making, flanges, and then start tacking and welding to the actual motor. Hopefully that'll work, but that's for next weekend. So, if you've enjoyed watching this and seeing the progress, or lack of progress, or whatever, or me dick around with this, give me a like and a subscribe. Hopefully this thing will be ready by first Grid Life event I'm going to, which would be the Gingerman Challenge, not Midwest Fest. So, see you around.